When I used to be a teacher, one of my most exciting moments was when I saw the look on students' faces when they lit up with an exciting idea. I love when girls are excited about ideas. We need to think, we need to grow, and in order to really become, to be successful, thoughtful, confident, resilient people, we always need to learn. Not just to learn for the sake of the test and getting into college, so to speak, but to learn for the sake of to become. Who are we going to become? And I think it's so exciting. I want our girls to become lifelong learners, where they're intellectuals, where they love learning and they love new things and they're excited with new ideas and they're excited to think and to analyze and to pick something apart and to know that their mind is so exciting and that they can discover who they are and who they want to be. In the old system of education, people were trained to be robots. They sat in a class, they took notes, they copied the board, they did their homework dutifully, and they were prepared so that they can go and work in the factories. Today, we live in a different world. We live in a world with technology, with information at our fingertips, where so many different types of people can become great and then can become leaders. And I want our girls, every single one of them, to find their leadership talent so that they can go out into the world and make a difference and become leaders. And we want to get them to think creatively, to be excited, to love learning, to really pick things apart and to think about it and say, how can I take this and apply it to my life so that I can become a leader and I can make a difference? We can't survive without technology, and to think that education should be stuck in the Stone Age is absurd. We should be using technology to be in the same way. It should be seamless. Just like we use it everywhere else, it should be something that is part of our classroom, part of our being. But we need to teach our girls to become responsible citizens, to know when is it okay to use technology and when is it not okay to use technology, and how can we use it properly. Now, in a classroom, when you're using technology, it dramatically changes the way we learn. You could bring a clip in from a TED Talk, or you can bring in a newspaper article and girls can circle the article and they can then graph it and they could play with it and they can take a poll live in the classroom where the teacher asks the kids a question and all of a sudden everybody votes and in 3 seconds we have the results on the board. They can take tests in real time and it's graded immediately. They can analyze text where the teacher gives the kid an assignment where every kid has to analyze a text, underline, highlight, and then click submit, and the teacher has it immediately. And then they could say, okay, Sarah, you wrote this. Let me see what you did. And it's up on the board. And everybody can, it's a live conversation. It's active. And it's just so much more vibrant than the stagnant world where we don't have technology. I think we need to teach our girls about the true spirit behind Snoot, that they should believe that Snoot is a gift and not a punishment, and that if they are tsanua, it protects them. It allows them to search within themselves and find their inner beauty and let their inner beauty shine out. And that really is the beauty behind Snoot, and that is why it's so empowering. And I think that Snoot can and should become empowering instead of a difficult rule that needs to be enforced. At Shalomit, we promise every girl to both educate the head and the heart. So a lot of schools, and often we speak about the head. And for a minute, I want to take a second, or for a minute, I'd like to discuss the heart. How do we educate to the heart? How do we teach our girls to become girls with character and midot tavot, that then they can go out into the big wide world and live Torah true, inspired lives? So we have so many different types of programming in order to help that, because we believe it is part of our mission. We believe in social emotional programming, we believe in empowerment, we believe in extracurricular program in order to help every girl discover her best self and to become the architect of her own dreams. The biggest mistake that exists today in the education world is that teachers believe that they need to stand in front of the classroom, lecture, kids must take notes, they must do their homework, they must copy the board, take a test, and then go home. But in reality, and at Shalomit, what we want to do is we want to get the kids actively involved in the creative thinking, intellectual process. We want kids to think, to discover, to find their own voice, and to be able to ask the questions that help them discover the intellectual answers. And then the education becomes part of who they are. And then they realize that education is really so much fun. And because it's so much fun, they never want to stop. They want to become lifelong learners. I once had students ask me, how come you're not bored teaching the same thing again and again and again, all day, all the time, year in, year out? I always teach American history, or I always teach Tanakh. Aren't you bored teaching the same subject over and over again? And my answer is no. I love teaching because I love kids. I love teenagers. Teenagers are so much fun because they're discovering themselves. And it's really exciting to watch that maturing process where kids think about themselves and they discover, who do I want to be when I grow up? And that's a very exciting, vibrant process. And I want to be there to help facilitate it. I think people who are around teenagers and talk with teenagers and like teenagers, they're constantly growing because teenagers deal with essential questions in life. Who do I want to be? What do I want to become? What do I want my life to look like? I always loved learning, but sometimes I found that the best learning didn't happen in a classroom. I would read a New York Times and discuss it with my parents over breakfast. I would go to museums. I would travel. And very often when I came to the classroom, I was bored. I would fall asleep. Sometimes I liked school. Sometimes the teachers were interesting. And sometimes they were boring. And I always felt like I was studying for tests, but I wasn't necessarily studying to learn. And one of the things that I really loved when I got into the world of education is discovering a whole new world of teaching that exists out there. What if we could have teachers that excited and engaged kids to really discover the intellectual process and how exciting it is to think and discover on our own? What if we can ask kids to analyze and to come to the conclusions themselves? What if instead of the teachers spoon-feeding the kids could uncover and discover information on their own? And that's really what excites me most about education. What I love about walking into a classroom, because first and foremost, at my heart, I'm a teacher. And what I love most about walking into a classroom is seeing the smile on those kids' faces when they've discovered something, when they've learned something new and they've come to it on their own. Education is not just about big ideas. It's also about the practical. What are we going to do to realize our mission? How are we going to make this all happen? And that is with our programs. And we have so many programs that are designed to help our students grow in so many different areas. We have a masterpiece program that brings the fine arts into our daughters' lives. We have a STEM program, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, where we're going to help our girls think creatively and discover how they can think out of the box and be engineers or inventors and have a science program in school. Through these programs, girls discover themselves. They discover whether they're artistic, they discover really what they're passionate about and what they're excited about. And through that, they gain confidence and they gain leadership skills. And you know what's so amazing about being in a new school? Normally, in a regular school, girls have to try out for programs, and sometimes they make it, and sometimes they don't. And administrators are always talking about, we need to share the wealth. Girls can't do everything. Some girls do this, and one girl can be editor of the yearbook, and another girl's allowed to be GO, and they're really not allowed to do multiple things because every girl needs to have a chance. Well, in our school at Shalomit, every girl will not only have one chance, but will have multiple chances, because we won't have seniors. Every single freshman girl will become a senior when she walks in the door on the first day of school. And so because of that, she will have so many opportunities for leadership. She will be able to be on the soccer team and on a literary journal and in the play and on witness theater and go to the opera and then be on debate team, because we have so many different activities, and she will have the opportunity to be on them all. What do we mean when we say education redefined? When I say redefined, I think we're rethinking education. We're re-exploring, we're re-examining, we're ripping up all the old ideas, and we're saying we're starting from scratch, and how are we gonna do it right? How are we gonna take the best that's out there in the world and bring it for our girls? And one of the things that I love about thinking about education, which I really love, I love dreaming about education, I love thinking, I love exploring, I love planning, is that very often when teachers talk about teaching, they talk about the academics, and they talk about how are we going to fill these kids' head with knowledge so that they walk out with knowledge. And my question is, let's focus more on not just the knowledge, but how are we going to take our girls and say, let's impart values. Let's teach so that we can look at the end result and say, who are they going to become? What are they going to get with all of this knowledge? How are they going to become critical thinkers and curious and resilient and confident and smart and wise and witty and fresh? And how are they going to become Torah true and inspired people? And I think that question will drive our answers. And when you think about education, we're not only focused on the classroom, literally the four walls of the classroom, but the classroom extends to so many parts of their lives. Because when we think about education, we promise that at Shalomit, we will give every girl an education from head to heart.